the final episode of this season, season 3 of the Impact Driven Leader podcast. My guest, Seth Madison. Seth and I have known each other for years now, known of each other more than know each other. But that's how it works in the digital age, right? It's like if you follow somebody on social media, if you interact, if you connect with them, you know them. Seth and I have known each other for probably 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 years. Mutual friend Ryan Engelbert, amongst many others. Good friend Hayden Vavra, Chris Harder, those guys, all are friends of Seth's. And one thing I admire about his work is he's moved from generational discovery and really focusing there into the future of work. And one thing he shared in our podcast was be willing to sacrifice. Now, when you hear that, the sacrifice, and oftentimes people think of time or money as the sacrifice. I'm going to take a twist on it. See, my life, I've had to sacrifice. I stepped away from focusing my sole career on my nutrition business. I still had that as a facet of my everyday, but I took a job. I went to work for somebody else. And many people were shocked at that. Or when I've talked about it since then, they're kind of like, oh, almost to a point of the worst thing you can ever do in life is be an entrepreneur working for yourself and then pivot and wave the white flag. I need to go work for someone else. So when Seth brought up the sacrifice that he made moving from a consulting business into almost just a general apprenticeship, just willing to be involved with his next leaders, he had to make the sacrifice financially and in what he was doing, but it's also proven to be a great investment. Not all sacrifices are monetary or time. Often they are title and status. This brings me to my thought of the day today is don't let your ego be the barrier between where you are now and where you can make an impact. Let me read that again. Don't let your ego be the barrier between where you are now and where you can make an impact. So often we need to pivot. We need to go a different direction. And again, our world thinks, oh, that means I got to sacrifice. I got to go from making $100,000 a year to $50,000 a year. I got to go from eating, normal food to now it's just hot dogs and ramen. I have to go from a nice house to, oh, now I'm, in a much smaller apartment. Those things can be the case and they can be sacrifices you need to make. But sometimes it means, oh, I'm working for myself today solely. Tomorrow I'm going to work for myself, but I'm also going to work for someone else. So no longer am I completely in control of my schedule. I need to go learn a different skill set. I'm going to go work for someone else. Don't let your ego be the barrier between where you are now and where you can make an impact. I've seen that in many industries. I've seen that in friends that they work for themselves and then they're like, should I leave this industry? I went from the nutrition business to a consulting business and people mocked me. People shamed me. But I know this, if I had never done that pivot, I would never be where I'm at now. Don't let your ego be the barrier between where you are now and where you can make an impact. Hope you got value from this today.